Okay, guys, we're going to start all over again, and we're going to talk about proportions, because proportions is at the heart of everything we're going to be doing. Now, a proportion is just two equal ratios. So, like 2 to 4 is equal to 8 to 16. Now, I know they're equal because it tells me they're equal, but there's a test I can do to test that, to make sure that they're equal. And that test is when I multiply across this way, 4 times 8, I get 32. If these two are really equal, when I multiply across this way, I will also get 32. So 16 times 2 is 32. So since these two, when I multiplied across and across and I got the same thing, that lets me know that these are truly equal, which means they are truly a proportion. So if I had 3 to 7 and 6 to 21, well, change colors here. When I multiply across this way, 7 times 6, I get 42. When I multiply across this way, I get 63. I did not get the same thing. They are not equal, and they are not proportional. They have to be like this, where I get the same thing. So let's look at another one. So if they're really equal, when I multiply across this way and when I multiply across that way, I will get the same thing. So 5 times 9 is 45. And when I multiply across this way, 15 times 3, it's also 45. So yes, they are equal, and yes, they are a proportion. Now, we're going to use that nifty little trick about multiplying across and getting the same thing to find a missing number. So if I gave you 3 to 8 equals x over 40, you could use your knowledge of this up here, that you know if they are really, really equal, that when you multiply across this way and when you multiply across this way, you're going to get the same thing. So let's multiply across this way the two I know. So 40 times 3 is 120. So when I multiply across this way, 8 times x has to give me 120. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to write that. 8 times x, that's when I'm going across this way, 8 times x has to equal 120. To make it a proportion, they have to equal 120. Now, we did this last year. If I have a missing number, I know I want to get that x by itself. That's my missing number. To get that x by itself, you do the opposite. So the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So instead of multiplying by 8, we're going to divide by 8. And we did that because these two will cancel out, look there, and x is all by itself. Now remember, whatever I do to one side of the equation, I have to do the other. So I have to divide this side by 8. So I'm going to put in my calculator 120 divided by 8. And 120 divided by 8 is 15. So this missing number right here would be a 15. So let's go look how it's going to look today when you're working. It's going to look like this. So you'll get a piece of paper and you would say, okay, I know that this times this and this times this have to give me the same thing. So I'm going to go across here, the two numbers I know. 9 times 2 is 18. So 4.5 times something, we're going to put an X there, has to also give me 18. So 4.5 times something, X, has to equal 18. And I got that by just following this arrow. 4.5 times X has to equal 18. I want to get that X by itself. So instead of multiplying by 4.5, we're going to divide by 4.5. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So these two will cancel out, leave me with X. And then over here, on the other side, I'm going to do my math, and so I'm going to grab my calculator. So 18 divided by 4.5. is 4. So that means that this missing number right here would be a 4. Okay, so I can put that as an X on this one. So I know if I multiply across this way, do that in my calculator, it's 175. So when I multiply across this way, I have to get 175. So X times 14 has to equal 175. And I got that here. X times this 14 has to equal 175. So instead of multiplying by 4, I do the opposite and I divide it by 4, not 4, but 14, excuse me. And those cancel out, get the X by itself. That's why I did it. And whatever I do to one side, I do the other. So I have to divide this by 14. So 175 divided by 14 is 12.5. And we ain't scared no decimals. So this missing number right here would be 12.5.